Mr. Bald, Mr. Clean, whatever you want to call me. If you say the word bald, there's a chance that I'll probably end up appearing.
Say his name and he appears.
And he says, "You're gonna crush me." And from that time, I never stopped believed it. And I say, I am gonna.
You would see me grind so much harder in season 2 than anyone ever has. Zach Biven has coined the phrase, he'll outwork anyone. You would never see me again if it wasn't for playing Lorcana.
Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today is our next group podcast on the channel. I had the pleasure of being joined by 3 incredible Lorcana players and just incredible personalities among the community, RMB, Sailor, and Xenulous, and we're going to get to know all about them and their new Team Maelstrom. Just as a note, when it gets to the final third of the video, my camera does go a little laggy. Not sure why it happened, but I apologise for that. It's quite a long one, so we're going to jump straight in. A shout out to the channel sponsor, Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, then check out Cardmarket. But let's have a chat with Team Maelstrom. And here we have them. The men, the myth, the legends of the hour, and the representatives for today's Team Maelstrom episode of the podcast. We have RMB, we have Xenulous, which I don't know if I'm saying right still, but we're going to call him Zen for the episode, and we have the Sailor of the Azurite Sea. Gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. It's a long time coming, it genuinely is. Since I started these podcasts, I've had a list in mind of people that I've wanted to get onto the channel, and we're slowly working our way through it. A Baker podcast is a rare thing. It's once every couple of months, so it's taken me a while, but I'm super glad that we've finally been able to get you guys on, and kind of seemed like the perfect time to do it, what with your news, shall we say, which we're going to talk all about for today's episode. I'm sure the vast majority of people watching, you are familiar with these gentlemen, but we always like to be new player friendly, and who knows, maybe a month from now, more people are getting into the game, that's what we hope at least, and they find this video and they're like, who are these guys? I know nothing about these guys. Please tell me something about these guys. So, in any order you want, I'd like you to tell us a few things to introduce yourself, and I have sent the lads the notes of these questions. So, please just tell us who you are, your TCG experience up until Lorcana, like mention any other games that you might have played, or maybe this is your first. How long you've been playing Lorcana? Have you been on it from the get-go, or did you join us a little down the line? Which DLCs you have played, and maybe you want to talk about some of your best results and accolades in those competitions. And I'd like you to tell me, what is your pet deck for Lorcana, the deck that you like to bring to a tournament, represent and brew with. So in any order you like, gentlemen.
My name is Logan Taylor, aka Xenulous. You nailed it right on the head,
Excellent.
Baker. So TCG experience, I played the World of Warcraft physical card game. I believe from around 2011 is when I first started that. I don't remember the exact year that Blizzard killed off the physical card game for Hearthstone, but then I just kind of picked up Hearthstone and played that competitively, more or less right up until the week that Lorcana released. Okay. I've been playing it since literally the first week the game came out. My cousin and I went to the nearest Walmart because that was the only hobby store that we could find product at. So it's been a wonderful and long ride. I have not missed a single North American DLC this season. Sadly, I was not able to make day 2 at any of the events. I was 1-2-0 victory away from that in both Texas and Toronto.
Bitter.
But best of 2 format is difficult, man.
But a seasoned veteran, nonetheless, of the Disney Lorcana Challenge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You have no excuses if you go to all of them. So I have no excuses for the season. I just need to buckle down and maybe prepare a little bit harder next season. Oh yeah, Emerald Amethyst is my favorite deck to pilot and just play in general. Always has been.
EA Tempo, is that the deck that you brought to those 2 events where you were just a 2-0 away?
No, ironically, both of those events was Ruby Sapphire.
Well, there you go, Zen. Maybe that's the issue. You need to play with your heart next time. But yeah, you're a player I've been following for a while, and I know you've had a couple of like really heartbreaking, almost made it experiences. But I've watched you play via the ICL, and I know you're a top tier player, and obviously you're on a fantastic team, like working with great players. So I have no doubt, for what it's worth, that your time will 100% come. But I'm super glad to have you here. Sailor R&B, who's going to go next?
I'm Sailor, aka my real name is Pierre-Marc Duguay. I'm French-Canadian from around Montreal. And I have first touched a TCG when I was 5 in 1994.
Wow.
When the MTG was introduced. We had a show and tell at school, and a kid brought like revised set Goblin and Minotaur deck. And I was absolutely mesmerized by how cool that was. And yeah, I have played Magic the Gathering since then, until a few days before I started playing Lorcana, which was August 2023. I have been playing Lorcana since then, played thousands and thousands of games. I'm like original grinder, as all of us are. And we've been playing this for 2 years, almost like a year and a half, like almost full time. And I went to 3 DLCs. My first one was Fourth Ward, and I finished 12th at that and qualified for NA Continentals, which was my pet deck, right? With Susi on Ice, Sisu on Ice, the Ruby Sapphire heavy control list, because now there's more than one Ruby Sapphire deck, but at that time there was pretty much the only version of the deck. I built that deck for Chicago, and one of our teammates played that deck and qualified with it. And then I did the same in Fort Worth. Lost my 5th round in Toronto, and went all splits all day in Seattle. So even though you see me like as a successful player, there's also DLCs where I went pretty medium to bad. And then at the North American Championship, I got top 8, which qualified me for the World Championship that was coming up this year. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I did.
When you think about the players that have had like really breakout first years, there's a couple of names that come to mind, and you're absolutely one of those with a fantastic set of results. I've had the pleasure to sit under your learning tree a little bit as well. I did dabble in a bit of Ruby Sapphire briefly, but I did dabble last set championship, and you were very like I was very grateful that you spent some time with me, like looking back over the matches and talking about like how we could improve certain things, which was like really something I valued very much. And I will say as well, you're humble enough to not say it yourself, but that CISO on Ice build of Ruby Sapphire is your creation, like that you sort of normalize the ice block Sisu variant of this deck, which became the normal way to play this. And I know that you've built your own fantastic community off of the back of that, and you're helping players to improve all the time. So yeah, another absolute veteran, and it is a genuine pleasure to have you here, sir. And finally, the man with, I apologize to you two, but with undoubtedly the coolest t-shirt in the room, I'm just saying, undoubtedly, we have the legendary RMB. How you doing, buddy? Tell us who you are. Tell us your story.
Yeah, of course. Like Baker said, my name is RMB. That's what most people know me by. Real name's Ryan Beaupre, aka Mr. Bald, Mr. Bald, Mr. Clean, whatever you want to call me. If you say the word bald, there's a chance that I'll probably end up appearing. I've been playing TCGs for the better part of over 2 decades now. It started, just as a wee little lad, collecting Pokemon cards. Never really played it, but I had all of them just in binders, and I just like looking at them, thought they were super cool. It wasn't until I met like my childhood best friend when I was 12, his older brother was like really big into Magic. So like we played super casually. We played on like living room floor Magic with like no sleeves or anything like that. And then shortly after that, like that was kind of like my initial jump into TCGs. The Yu-Gi-Oh card game came out. And I played for the first like 3 or 4 sets of the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. That's when I started going to like local game stores, like bringing my deck. I got like really excited when they printed Yatagrasu, and I came up with this like really cool combo with Yatagrasu and Gravity Bind, and I was super excited about it. And then they were like, yeah, we're restricting Yatagrasu to 1 now. And I was like, all right, I don't want to play this game anymore. They just like killed the one thing that was super fun for me. So I ended up switching back to Magic, and I got
that was the reason. The restriction to
Yeah,
1. Not even the ban. Just restriction to 1 was, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah. Because like the whole premise of the deck was to get this Gravity Bind down and get a Yatagrasu down, and your opponent just functionally didn't get to play the game anymore, and you just hit them for like 200 every turn.
Well, I've got the same history, so I know it well.
Fun.
I know it well what you're talking about. The good days.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up jumping back over to Magic around like the Future Sight, Planar Chaos, Cold Snap block, and then M10 came out. And as soon as Lorwyn hit is like when I really like went hard. I mean, started grinding, going to Grand Prix, going to Opens, going to Pro Tour qualifiers. I've played in every level of competitive Magic the Gathering that there is besides the World Championship. It was the one thing that I could never get to, which was one of my biggest goals coming over to Lorcana. And I'm early adopter. Day 1, I was waiting outside LGS for it to open to try to snag, just some packs and some starter decks to get it going. And the rest is kind of history from there. I've only been able to play in 3 of the DLCs. I played in the first one in Atlanta, which I was waitlisted for. Ended up coming off the wait list. Ended up getting top 8 of that DLC, which qualified me for nationals.
Let's go.
I played in Dallas as well. Ended up making day 2 of Dallas. Got top 64. Ended up losing to Jeremy Bertarioni in what was a favorable matchup. My deck decided to not deck anymore. Like I didn't draw like some. Didn't draw like the critical pieces. And then I also played in Vegas. I didn't do so hot in Vegas. I took something that I shouldn't have taken, and it was because Twitter told me to. I let Twitter decide what I was going to play for the weekend against my better judgment. Yeah, exactly. And so like my pet deck, obviously, most people know me as the father or grandfather of Sapphire Steel, Zoolander Wheel. It's what I've been playing since day 1. Is good old fashioned Sapphire Steel Wheel.
And you were playing that in the first DLC you did, right? Where you top 8'd,
Yep.
I believe so.
Oh yeah,
Was it Zan you lost to?
Yeah, I lost to Zan in top 8.
I don't know why.
Zan lost in top 4.
I as you can imagine, I watch a lot of Lorcana, not just from casting, but like the American ones. Like I watch the whole thing, mate. The entire, not always live, but I will watch the whole thing. And like there are certain matches that stand out, and that's one of them. I think that was one of the early like, okay, these are 2 names like coming head to head for the first time here. It had probably happened before, but that's one of the earliest ones I remember that stands out for sure. So yeah, as you can see, veterans of various games, but all it took was a bit of Mickey Mouse on a trading card, and they're all in. They're all in, and they are committed to this game. And great to get to know a bit about you individually, and we're gonna also talk about like some of your personal goals and like cards from set 7 that you're excited for, and get into all that. But a big part of this video is also for you to talk about your brand new team. So let's move into the team talk part of today's schedule. And open question to anyone who wants to answer it. Who are Maelstrom? And am I saying it right?
You're looking at us like we are some of the players that play for Maelstrom. Obviously, like we'll just go ahead and get the elephant out of the way. The elephant that's in the room out of the way. All of us previously played for Labyrinth TCG. We decided that, some creative differences among the organization and what, their goals were versus what our goals were just didn't align. So we decided to kind of, split off. We started what is now known as Maelstrom. Shout out to Sailor for the killer name suggestion, as well as a lot of our digital graphics. He's kind of like the man behind the scenes.
Let's go.
So yeah, we're Same great players that you guys have, kind of grown to love, just with a little bit of a new face, new name, uh, doing bigger and better things every day, just trying to continue to grow this community.
And can you confirm, just again for the sake of people that may be brand new, who are the other members? How many of you are there? Who is Maelstrom as an entirety?
Yep. So we do currently have 6 players. We've got myself, we've got Xenulous, we've got Humble, which is like Mr. Mufasa. We've got Wonder, which Wonder is, he's DLC Seattle winner, like absolutely crazy, crazy player.
The wizard of Lorcana.
Yeah, he's like the opposite of bald, right? We've also got so he's like the yin to my yang. He's got all the hair so that I don't have to, right?
Gotcha.
And then we've also got Benable Harka, and then of course we've this beautiful French Canadian man sitting beside me. We've got the red blue god himself, Sailor.
The man who's definitely got some sort of private contact with the dev team for all the love that this Ruby Sapphire deck is getting over time. But I'm not. It's right. I'm not going to out it.
I actually talked to one of the dev at any championship, and I asked them, is it you that designed the Sail the Azurite Sea? Because blah blah blah. And I actually showed him the meme that you make with my face on it.
just chilling in the boat.
Yeah. Ryan Miller. It was Ryan Miller.
Oh, it was.
And he was finding that very, very funny, and he really loved the story of it.
I'm very glad to hear that. Ryan's big name in Lorcana I haven't had the chance to meet. Hopefully one day. But that's awesome. That's one of my favourite memes that I've made. Although I did enjoy the one, the RMB Beast one. I didn't make it, but he sent it to me, and I enjoyed that.
That was a good one too.
It is a good one. So that's who Maelstrom are. The next question was like, how did the team come to be? We've already kind of addressed that. You're part of a previous team. You've decided to go in your own direction. So what is the mission statement for the team? What are the goals? What are the things that the team prioritizes? And yeah, just tell me a little bit more about, like, okay, we know the members. We see you here. What can we expect from you?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is something that we're really passionate about. I think all of us, we've all been Disney kids since we were kids, and we're still Disney kids even as adults. So like, for us, Maelstrom's committed to fostering a really welcoming and inclusive community for any of the Disney Lorcana enthusiasts that are out there. Our mission is to unite players through collaboration, respect, and continuous growth, and we want to create a central hub for innovation and connection. And together, we're trying to strive and empower each other to achieve excellence in gaming and even beyond the game.
That is genuinely awesome to hear, and for what it's worth, you are all here because I've invited you here, should I say, not only because you're all fantastic players, but I have seen firsthand, mostly across social media, because we haven't had the pleasure to meet, I hope one day, but I have seen examples of all of you many times just being good people. And I've seen examples of all of you doing that. So allow me to say, as a voice in the community, thank you for all you do, for the big voices and for the small voices, and may it continue. And last question about Maelstrom in particular. Where did Sailor came up with it? Where did it come from? What's it inspired by? What does it mean? What's the law?
A big brainstorm. Is it me or was it Sarah? Anyway, I remember we were talking about we went from something that was talking about the mythology, something like mystic, or something like a little bit more about a movement that is grandiose, and we thought that Maelstrom sounded really cool because it was fierce, competitive, right? And we didn't want to over push the welcome everyone. We want to have that as a brand, but we're still competitive players, and we wanted something that is still fierce, that represent how much we care about the competitive aspect of the game. And I think that's really where the name came from. And also we had a lot of images coming out of this name really easily to us, right? Like we were like, oh yeah, there's this storm that is brewing, and we're trying to go through it all together, and like we're gonna fight this storm all together, you know. And it was something like that was challenging, right? Yeah.
No, you're absolutely speaking my language. I like, some would call it corny. I'd be like, oh, give me more. That's the lore that I want to hear. That's the sort of representation I want to see. I love the thought that's gone into that. And I will admit, first time I looked at it, it was like, But the more you say it, it really started to catch on, and it is very catchy and memorable. And I do think it does everything that you just said. Like, it's got that playful Disney side to it, but it is also like it's got a professional air to it. So, big fan of that. I don't know if have any of you seen Moana 2, the second one yet?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
No spoilers, no spoilers. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, fine.
I'm still waiting to see it, but I have not seen it yet.
I understand where you're going.
For anyone that's seen Moana 2, the bit at the end, what's going on there? Yeah. It kind of makes me think of that, which is, for what it's worth, for me, that was the best part of Moana 2 was that ending. Yeah. So, love that. Okay, so we've got Team Maelstrom, TCG veterans. Let's go on now to more individual goals and achievements for all of you. So, the next question, for any of you can start. What has been the most significant or meaningful moment of your Lorcana career as a player thus far? Like from a perspective of actually playing the game. We're going to get on to the same question, but like a community moment, something you're proud of from a different aspect. But as a competitive player, what's the proudest moment that you can think of off the top of your head from your Lorcana career so far? Anyone that wants to start off?
I'll start off on this one, yeah. So, I mean, in the early days, obviously, we had a client that we all participated in, and we're
Pixel board. You can say it. It's fine. I appreciate you being careful.
Oh, okay.
I appreciate you being careful.
I don't know the rules here.
No, that's why I say I appreciate you being careful, but it's fine. I've said it before. It's a webcam server. It's a webcam game, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, back in the early days, that was something I especially was able to latch onto. It was really hard to get physical cards back in the day, so for the longest time, that's how I played the game. And then I was very fortunate that my work schedule allowed me to play in a lot of those online events.
Yeah.
Every single, down to the very first Manticore event, to the very first Tia Beastie event, I was a part of, and I was generally always in top cut of all of those. The very first Tia event, I made top 16. It was actually Zach Bivens that knocked me out of that particular tournament.
There is no shame whatsoever in that, and worth saying.
No, absolutely not.
And please continue in a moment, but I will just jump on that quickly to say, if you're not familiar with the pack tournaments, they were huge. Okay, so this was the Pixelborn in its prior state, and at the time, for a lot of people, it was the only way to play the game, either through unavailability or just time schedule. Everybody was playing this, and these tournaments were absolutely humongous. So to top cut those is every bit as impressive as DLC top day 2, in my opinion. So, but yeah, please continue.
No, absolutely. It was. I mean, you know, as you know, like the competition was absolutely fierce. And then moving on from that, the very first Charlie's Collectible Show, which was the very first time that RMB and Humble and I met in person, I was able to make top 8 there. And again, ironically enough, the person that knocked me out in top 8 was Ed, the Continental winner himself.
Again, no shame.
No, so, you know, from the beginning, I've always felt like I've had the legs to stand next to some of these guys who have vastly more years of TCG experience than I do. You know, I say I started in 2011, and some of these guys, like Sailor, started when I was 5 years old back. So, you know, always feeling like I'm right on the cusp of just being able to stand with these, what I consider to be titans of the game. Kind of gave me the confidence to continue pushing throughout the season. Even if I had a event that was a little bit middling, I was always like, I can do this. I have the ability to. My teammates believe I do, because if I didn't, or if they didn't think I did, they wouldn't keep me around. So
I think that's an important thing to say because, like, undoubtedly you were all friends, but at the same time you haven't got together to start a friend club. Like, that's a bonus, right? But you got together to start a competitive Lorcana team, and that always needs to take a level of priority. So yeah, like, undoubtedly, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Undoubtedly, your DLC time is coming, but again, already a fantastic set of achievements. I can't wait to see what the future has for you and your Lorcana career. Sailor, R&B, whichever one of you wants to go.
For me, like, I mean, we're talking specifically the most meaningful moment of my Lorcana career.
Yeah.
I have to go back to Atlanta. So, because of Atlanta, I coined the term. I didn't coin it, but the name was given to me, Reaper MB. Because the R stands for Reaper, and the reason it stood for Reaper is because I had to battle through 3 of my teammates during my run to top 8 in Atlanta. In top 32, I played against, at the time, one of our teammates, Bobby McHugh. Absolutely amazing person. He was on, Amber Steel. I was on Sapphire Steel. We played really, really grindy games. Like, we got to the point where we were going into game 3, and like we had to call a judge because we both had to go to like the bathroom to like use the restroom and like come back because like it was just such an like incredibly tense, hard fought battle. And unironically, I think it was a bad matchup for me, and I ended up coming out on top 2-1. And then going into my top 16 match, I pair into our, at the time, captain was Lorcana bro, Mr. Aaron Rubin himself. Which, like, I've looked up to this dude even back in, Magic the Gathering. Like, he was a pro player, like a name that I knew. So, and he and Bobby were, like, both on the exact same deck. They were on the exact same deck list. So I have to go 2 rounds in a row playing against teammates. And again, incredibly hard fought, 3 games. I end up, coming out victorious, and I'm walking away from that table and kind of walking back to where the rest of the team is. And like, I've got my head held high, but like, I'm like choking back because like I just knocked, one of my friends out of top 8 contention to get my own spot. And like, I remember the first 2 people I saw were Xenulous and Humble, and like they both looked at me and they went, and I gave them the thumbs up, and I mean like they just all came in around me, gave me a big hug, and like the tears that I was trying to choke back, like boom, just
and the game over.
Like a waterfall. Like, couldn't control it anymore. And like, I mean, all of us, me, Xenulous, Humble, Wonder, Bannable, like we were all just this big group hug, just like it was that right there. That was probably one of the most meaningful moments to me, because I think that was the point that we went into that event as a team and we left as a family.
Yeah, that's beautiful, genuinely. And again, it's like the community moments, right? So I'm super glad that you were able to have that, and especially so early on in your Lorcana career, and sort of find that family, as it were. So that's awesome. And Sailor, your proudest moment of your Lorcana career so far, what comes to mind?
There's at least 2 that I want to highlight.
You're more than welcome to. More than welcome.
Yeah, the first one, of course, was in Fort Worth. I had talked with Aaron and some member of the teams, and I arrived there. It was my birthday weekend on that, and basically I was on the wait list, and a week prior to it, I didn't think I would go. And I got off the wait list, and I asked my girlfriend, hey, this is a very important event. This is my birthday. What do you think about me going? And of course, I have a family, so it has implications on our schedule and stuff like that. And she's like, you know what? It's your birthday. Do what you want. And I went. And on that Saturday, I met the guys. They invited me into the team, right? I think it was like after round 3 or somewhere in Saturday. And I was crushing at that time, but like nothing was over, right? And ended up making day 2.
Let's go.
And so that was like a very unreal weekend of like me joining a professional team with really great players, people that are now my friends. But at that time, obviously, I only knew them from online, but I knew all of them, right? Like I was not. We had chatted, we had played against one another.
Still a different experience when you actually meet someone, though, right?
Yes, exactly. And so, being able to go to my first tournament outside of like set championships and locally, right outside of my country, and to do well on the first time was just very, very reassuring of me as a player, because I knew I was good, but it's something different to go to these events. There's 2,000 people, and all the best players in the game are there, and you need to keep your concentration at its best every single round. And then you need to know what your matchups are, how to approach them. And I was just in the zone from the get-go. Like I remember inking my first card and looking at my opponent and say, "Oh, that's why we're here." And just like I went on and just went straight to the win. Like I was like, I have played so much of this game. I know all about it. And when you can be a little bit stressed going into these big events. But the first time I inked a card, and then 9 hours later, I was
God
in
mode.
top 64, right? Like
God
I was
mode.
like, oh, that's it. I just did something I love, and then went straight to my target, right? Like my goal, and so the story was this Bucky era, right? I was playing Ruby Sapphire. I built my deck around Diablo, around Bucky. And I faced it once on day 1, and then on day 2, I faced it top 64, top 32, and just went like 2-0 all of them. I just like I was not losing to that deck, right? I brought a deck that could beat the best deck, and it worked. And then I lost to Sapphire Steel, to a very good player. He was on the play. And we both exchanges like 1-1, and then the last game he was on the play and he had a stellar draw, and I couldn't get to top 8. But I was just happy about it. Like I was never mad about that finish, because just qualifying for Continentals was my goal, and I had achieved it on the first time. So there was no way I was gonna let any games get me mad about it. Like it was just okay. Well, my end run here, my run end here, but like I'm so happy of what I have accomplished that weekend.
I'm glad.
And
I was just gonna say I'm glad to hear that, because like you want to remain positive, right? Like it's easy to be like, no, I didn't get even further, but like with the roller coaster of the events that you've just described, from coming off the wait list to having to like have this conversation with your girlfriend and clear it with your family to even go, to then meeting new friends, to then being invited to join a team, to then tearing up day 1, going God mode because you inked a card and go all that way. I'm glad you were able to come out of that and like have such fond memories for sure.
And obviously, the second moment is the North American Championship. I had a very hard run. I started 3 1-1s, right? 0-0-3. And then we went to lunch. Lunch was amazing, by the way. And
I bet it seems so.
I was frustrated with my last round, how it ended, because I had won the first game and we didn't have time to finish the second. And so that means I only got 3 points. So that's why I was 0-0-3. And I was really frustrated about that. But I got it out to my teammates. I ate a really good lunch. And then I remember round 4, when you go back to play, it was Emerald Amethyst. And that one, that deck got me out of both Toronto and Seattle. So I was like, okay, this is, again, not going to be easy. And I won 2-0 by the smallest margin. And then kept on going, won 2-0 against Sapphire Steel by the smallest margin. It was so close, the second game. And then went on against a local to me, actually, someone from Quebec, Patrick. And then we split. And then we arrived in round 7 having to be winning or losing, right? Like either I win and I get it, or I don't. And I remember seeing Caesar as like my opponent, and that's one of my students.
Okay.
And on my Metafy, right? And but I know he qualified with Sapphire Emerald's Steel, and he was playing that on the day. And when I arrived at the table, he was like that. He was like, I couldn't have chosen a worse opponent. Like I couldn't have chosen a worse one. Like, it's impossible. The guy who's not losing to Emerald Seal ever.
Yeah.
And I basically went on and won in 10 minutes. And yeah, and after that I was like, wow, I made it out of this roller coaster of a day.
Yeah.
And that was again my objective, right? That was my goal, right? Like, make day 2 on North American Championship. And then Umza was the one I would play on top 16 on the Sunday. And I remember telling my girlfriend and like all the people about that tournament, I was like, the most important game of my career will be that first one on Sunday.
Yeah.
And Hamza come to me, and so this guy is being known for playing Ruby Sapphire as well. And he says, "You're gonna crush me." And from that time, I never stopped believing it. And I say, I am gonna. And we practiced on the Saturday night with Xen. And I was confident. I woke up at like 4 or 5 a.m. I was confident. I was like,
we went to bed, and there was absolutely no doubt. I was like, okay, so Sailors made it to Worlds. That's just what's going to happen tomorrow.
And I don't feel as confident.
Yeah, and I was pretty sure our match wouldn't be streamed because it was a Ruby Sapphire mirror match, and people don't like that too much, I guess. But I was like, yeah, this is probably gonna be the longest match of the top 16, and the match lasted 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I was invited to Worlds, and I couldn't believe it. Like, if it was like, yeah, the best, definitely the summit of all I have worked for was this accomplishment, right? And I was proud, but also very grateful, because of course you need the right circumstances to get there, right?
But
like you
put yourself in the position to like benefit from those circumstances, right? We all know that variance is a thing, but we control it the best we can by being the best player that we can and by making reads of the meta. And yeah, you've come out. Again, I think the summit is the best one. The eye of the storm, you could say, before Maelstrom came to be. Maybe that's a nice poetic way to put it.
And at Anaheim, right, at the NA Championship, I was with the true love of my life. I was with my kid and my girlfriend, and going to both the parks the few days before. I really set myself up for success, but also for failure, because I knew that I needed this support system in case I failed, right? So having the two most important people with me made it so that even if I fail, I'll have lived that moment with them, and it's gonna be a great memory that I'll be able to cherish whatever happens. And I'm just very grateful that now it's an even better one.
That's awesome. And I really relate to that on a personal note, because when I casted for Euros in Paris, I was fortunate enough to be able to bring my mum along for us to spend a couple of days in Disneyland, which was just like that was it. That's what more could you possibly hope and ask for to be able to do that, because of the situation that we found ourselves in. So that's awesome. I'm glad you've got such incredible moments to look back on, and I'm sure you're looking for more. I'm sure the journey is far from over for all of you, but all of you already have such an amazing first year, and you've already built your own communities. And before we go on to discuss a bit of Set 7, I was also going to ask you all kind of like your proudest community moment, but like some of your answers have kind of already tied into that overall. So instead, I would just say, is there anything you'd like to say at this time to your communities and the people that have supported you and been there for you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, we love you, first of all, but second of all, when we made this transition and we made a new Discord, we made a new YouTube, like just felt like we were completely starting over from scratch. We legitimately were doing this with the mindset of it's going to take us 6 months minimum to not even get to where we were, but get close. And the outpouring of support and love we've had from our community over the past week has been insane. It feels like we've lost no ground at all. And genuinely, we expected none of it. So, I mean, anybody who's looked at anything we've ever done, looks up to any of us as players, has said hi to any of us at any challenge, we cannot thank you enough.
Amazing. RMB, I would like you to lead us off, because I know you have opinions, to talk a little bit about set 7, which is looking like it's going to be a little bit impactful. I asked all these gentlemen to prepare 2 cards that they would like to talk about. We may just do 1 each. We'll see what the time is. But what is 1 card that you 100% want to talk about, as whether you're excited or terrified for set 7 format? What is that card, RMB?
All right, so Sailor and I have to like split the Sapphire pool, so I'm gonna give him the one that I'm sure he wants to talk about, and I'll take the other one that I think is probably a little bit more beneficial to me, and that is Bell.
Okay.
Let's talk about the last Sapphire card spoiled during spoiler season.
Let's do it.
Brother. This card is everything that I didn't know that I wanted in a card. Like in Sapphire Steel specifically. Obviously, that's kind of like my baby. Our biggest like bone of contention is that we've never had a good 1-drop. Well, they just gave us a 3-cost 1-drop essentially. So like Bell is for Sapphire the way that Diablo is for Emerald. The difference is that you're essentially shifting on turn 1 and putting a 3-cost 3/3 into play. There's not another character in the game that has those stats on turn 1. And it's critical that it is a 3-cost, because we've kind of been plagued for the last 4 sets now of Steel Song, Amber Sapphire Steel Song being the premier Steel Song deck, and I think that the tides have finally changed, giving Sapphire Steel kind of those reins now. A 1-drop Cinderella is cute and all, but what if I just had a 3/3 instead that did the exact same thing? And that's exactly what Bell is. It gives you something that you desperately needed, which was an early game answer to opposing aggressive board states. It also has the ability to sing, the 3-cost songs that are very commonly played in the competitive scene. Let the Storm Rage On, Strength of a Raging Fire. Like, the card just does everything I could have ever wanted it to do, and I love it.
I imagine you've already got a few brews for set 7 using
so many.
So many. It's funny because Bell is in the new starter decks. I'm allowed to say that now. The embargo is has lifted, and the people that were receiving starter decks, we got them about 3 weeks ago. So we have been so desperate to talk about these cards, and I had people like Lorcana Decklists who also got the starter decks screaming at me in my DMs like about this card and just listing all these things that it opens up, and we haven't been able to talk about it, so we were relieved to see it finally come out. Don't get me wrong, it is a privilege to get this information, but it's also a very lonely place, right? If you can't talk to your friends and your community about it, like, don't get me wrong, again, I'm very grateful, but it can be lonely. You are a Blue Steel connoisseur. Do you think that's the deck for it? Do you think there are other Sapphire decks that are going to take advantage of it?
So, like, I do think that Sapphire Steel is likely the best place for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's at its peak in like a more traditional Zoolander wheel style. I think that it's going to be more in its element in like a more kind of Kiwi style, kind of like the Harlan Sweet Jack Shadow adaptation of the Sapphire Steel variants. I think that there's a weird hybrid that you can play between the two, which is something that I've been testing pretty recently. I know Harlan's also been testing it, I think we're like really, really close on our lists too. But I think that that's where that type of card is really going to shine. Mm-hmm. The one thing that like I want to do with the card, just because it just seems so disgustingly gross is like I want to play unconventional tool on one, sack the unconventional tool for the bell and put in a free sapphire coil. Like I really want to do that, but like that requires me to give up one of my colors.
I think it's a pipe dream, that opener though.
Yeah.
Like
course,
you
of course.
empty your hand out. Like it's every uninkable from the top is gonna be very, 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 very bad.
Hey man, if Emerald Steel can go turn 1 Diablo, turn 2 Shift Diablo, sing Let the Storm Rage On, play Cove, move to Cove, then like let me have this, okay?
The problem in Ruby is that we don't have any songs, right, that cost 3 that you would want to sing with it. So it's like that, and the fact that there's no Vitalosphere to make this opener as reliable and not as costly as it is with the tool, right? Because like the popsicles and the Vitalosphere and being able to draw a card very, very much take out the disadvantage of having to break that item, right? Like, because if that item doesn't draw you a card, you're down a card, right? To do it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean that's why like I think it's best in Sapphire Steels because both of the one drop items can trade.
But you can cook. You could whip up a Maurice's Workshop sort of deck, something on those lines. Hey, play the Maurice and the Maurice's Machine if you feel like it. I like a fun deck.
That I'm not sure about.
Hey, a fun deck.
A fun deck.
A fun deck.
The starter deck, right?
Let me make Maurice's Machine work, Sailor. Let me have this. But yeah, Bell clearly, by and away, one of the best cards in the new set, if not the best. But there are a couple of other very interesting ones to talk about. Sailor, shall we go on to you and we'll finish on Zen?
Yeah, since I'm going to talk about Sapphire.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Probably Logan can talk about something else after, maybe. For me, it's the new Tamatoa Appy as a clam. This card is like 2 activations of the bigger Tamatoa for 2 ink less, and a very tempo positive second ability that makes you take back some of the tempo that you lost by playing card advantage and ramp, right? And putting potentially your win condition into play for free, right? Like as the Lucky Dime, because it was becoming harder and harder to play Lucky Dime in a more aggressively slanted metagame, because like paying 7 is like a huge amount, but now you can actually take a turn off just to draw cards because that's what Tamatoa does, and eventually just like quest with it and bring on your win condition, and potentially you could switch from like dealing with something right on a turn, playing Tamatoa, dealing with something, but then start gaining lore while you're also answering what your opponent is doing. So I feel like the tempo out of Tamatoa is really where it will push it to new heights, like to very, very, very but it's max of potential. And so I like it in both Sapphire Steel and Ruby Sapphire for that reason.
That is going to be an expensive enchanted. I assume you're all in love with the
No,
enchant.
it's not even a good card. Not even a good card. Because I need 4 of them, okay? So like
I've seen your decks before. I know you like to bling them out, and hey, more credit to you. It looks so powerful. So yeah, the new Tamatoa, as if we didn't already have a good impactful one, which is kind of, you know, solidified Ruby Sapphire decks for a long while now, and now they give us another one. Someone at Ravensburger is a big Tamatoa fan, and more power to them. Zen, what have you got to talk about from set 7?
So I'm going to shift gears from my Sapphire overlords here for a second. My favorite ink in the game is Amethyst. Purple is my favorite color and always has been, so I've always been drawn to Amethyst. Giant Cobra, when I saw that, I was like, okay, now we have something more to get us to the finish line. I think Giant Cobra is something people have maybe not forgotten about, but haven't looked at as far as impact or power, because it's kind of been overshadowed by the Sapphire cards.
Yeah.
We were already in a really good spot with Amethyst Steel because of how much uninteractable lore gain you have. You're able to just kind of get to the finish line and say, okay, you can't stop me. My characters don't have to live. And now Giant Cobra is just another, oh, this condition isn't that bad. We can run things like Dock, Bold Knight. We have tons of card draw because we are in Amethyst. You can just run your 12 1-drops that all replace themselves. We have Friends on the other side, arguably the best, most consistent draw power in the game. We have cards like the Library that just continue to refill our hand. So the effect of having to discard a card to get an extra 2 lore is not that much of a detriment because of the color it's in. I think this is going to be a deck that people aren't going to initially fear or have a problem with because they're going to be so focused on Ruby Sapphire and Sapphire Steel. But I think where I'm going to be starting set 7 is Amethyst Steel, just because of Giant Cobra.
It's a great choice, and I was thinking the other day, I actually think the Giant Cobra is our first technically original Lorcana character, because like that Giant Cobra isn't technically in the film. I know Jafar turns into a snake, but that's not what's being depicted here. You can see Jafar in the background art of Giant Cobra summoning the illusion, and that is not canon to Aladdin. So it's like it's canon.
No, absolutely
to,
not.
It's canon to Lorcana's story. R&B, you have an opinion
about his staff and
yeah.
I
his staff can turn into a snake, but I don't think it actually happens.
It turns into a giant cobra, though, right?
No, he himself turns into.
He turns into the cobra.
He himself turns into the cobra.
Yeah. His staff never turns into it.
It's been a long time since I've watched Aladdin, so I didn't know if his staff turned into the cobra or if he turned.
No, because he turns into a sorcerer. It's his second wish is to be a sorcerer.
Okay.
So as a sorcerer, he can do tons of things, and one of those things is turn himself into a cobra. But nonetheless, in this art, you can see him in the background summoning the illusion. So I do think it's technically an original Lorcana character, but I love it, and I agree with you. I think it's super cool, and Amethyst Steel is already a deck that's been doing really, really well for a while now. So just another thing you have to fear, right? It used to be just okay, Goat or White Rose off the top is game, you like doing the counts, and now you have to worry about 4 times Cobra as long as they have at least one other card in their hand.
Oh, there's another one this set too.
Go on.
You don't just have to worry about Giant Cobra. You've also got Honey Marin. So
Honey Marin,
yeah.
we got both Honey Marin and Cobra, and then we also already had White Rose and Goat. Like the amount of uninteractive lore gain you can play in that color pairing is absurd. It is nothing short of egregious. I am, however, very, very thankful that the Ravensburger design team did make this a dual ink card for Amethyst Steel, because if my opponent ever like played a Giant Cobra and pitched a Lilo Escape Artist, like I'd be in shambles. I'd actually just be in shambles.
Yeah.
All super cool cards that we think will impact the Lorcana meta. Without any context, I'm going to ask you for just one more. No context, just tell me the card that you also think will be impactful. We'll go in the same order. R&B. No context, say a name of a card.
Sapphire Coil.
Yep, reasonable. Sailor?
I was gonna say Sapphire Coil, but I can say the Pete. The Shift Pete.
The flop
the Shift
one.
Pete.
The big one?
The flop,
yeah,
the big one.
I think the big one is great.
Yeah, I've seen someone. I know you have as well. So we've seen someone cooking with the big Pete. Very cool. Yeah. Zen. No context. What's the card?
The Queen, Jealous Beauty, the new 4-drop.
I'm really big. I'm quite big on this Queen. Nice. All right, there's still a couple of topics I want us to get through. We've just come to the hour mark, which sounds about right. We'll probably be able to get through these last couple of topics in 15-20 minutes, which sounds good to me. Let's move on to not a negative topic by any means, but you are all experienced Lorcana players. You've played in a vast majority of DLC/Continentals and set championships, and you've been around the block when it comes to Lorcana. What is something that you would like to see changed or adapted or improved upon in Lorcana's future concerning organised play? And that's anything from set championships, if that's something that you've got a passionate opinion about, all the way to DLCs, to the Continental, and then hopefully soon World Championships. Any of you that would like to start off on this note?
I'll start us off on this one, and it's going to be super, super simple, clear cut and to the point. An official judge program.
Mm-hmm. That's
it.
That's it. No
That's
more
all
words.
I want. An official judge program. Yep.
For me, I would like the DLCs to be a little bit longer in terms of how many rounds we're playing. I think we need a little bit more of skill expression and a little bit less luck and high rolly moments. I feel like people are getting away with like just being lucky on the day, and I would like for the better players to get there more than these moments, and that for me means more games played during the day.
No, I mean, my thing was exactly what Sailor said. I just want to play more games in the day. I think either making a change to best of 3 or giving us more best of 2 rounds, I think either one would serve that purpose. I don't know what it would look like in either scenario, but I just want to play more Lorcana, and I don't ever want to get into a point where I have to look at somebody and say, okay, you know where we're at now, right?
No, all super reasonable points, and again, I of course I have a close relationship with Ravensburger, but they've never wanted me to feel filtered, and I want to use the opportunity when I've got players like yourselves on that are so experienced to bring that feedback, because again, I can watch from the sidelines and I can empathise, sure, but I'm not in the trenches playing these long days, so I'm very grateful for your honest reply. Let's move on now to the last couple of topics, a little more light-hearted. Lorcana Art. If I make a statement, can you agree Lorcana Art some of the best among TCGs?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Hands down. So easy.
Easy.
It's the most beautiful game of all time.
Not even close.
Not even close.
Good answers. I wholeheartedly agree. Go on.
So I will say this. I think that they're doing themselves a disservice. And maybe it's coming. Maybe we don't know about it. But, like, I am a fiend for alternate arts. Like, an absolute fiend. If we look at, like, Magic the Gathering, they do these, like, artist spotlight series as secret layers that they drop a few of them throughout the year where, you know, a specific artist will get the opportunity to give a card that does, you know, an alternate art treatment. And it'll, like, imagine if you had, you know, a package. It's one of each card, and it's one of each of the bounce package. So one rabbit, one fox, one goat, one snake. Like, it's only 4 cards, but you could theoretically charge, you know, $100 for this. And the amount of people that are going to want 4 of these cards, like, I'm telling you, I will go absolute demon mode and just, like, max rarity out every Lorcana card in existence, because that is, like, something that's important to me. I like playing with pretty shiny things. Like, that's the thing that's most important to me. And, like, how else better can you give the amazing work that the artists that have, you know, been doing work for Lorcana even more recognition and let's say, like, freedom of creativity to take cards like that and give them these, like, specialized art treatments that are, you know, specific to that artist's, like, particular style.
TLDR,
I go broke.
shut up and
broke.
take my money is basically the TLDR there.
Yes.
Shut up and take. I feel like I need you to do the pose from the meme so I can put R&B in it instead. I agree completely, and, like, for what it's worth, I've been screaming, give me an art book. Like, put all of this fantastic, beautiful art, include some concept art and a couple of, like, creation pages, show me all the stages that led to a card, like, I'm right there with you. And on that note, I agree with you. I would like more, but we have had some beautiful alternate arts for DLC promos, 100%.
Yes.
What I'd like to ask you is, if you could choose a card to get the DLC treatment, whether it's like the participation, like Dragonfire, or whether it's something like the Cinderella, Rapunzel, something you got to really work for, what card are you making or requesting an alternative art for a DLC promo? R&B, you got an idea? Or do you want to think on it for a minute?
So, like, no, I have the idea. I have to choose between 2 because there's, like, one card that I shouted from the top of the rooftops that I wish had gotten an enchanted treatment, and, like, unfortunately that card just doesn't see play anymore. So, like, the other part of me wants to, like, pick a card that does still see play and I think is a staple in the game.
Okay,
So
I'll tell you what, you give me your answer and give me, like, an honorary mention.
Okay. Okay, so the one that I really want is Mr. Smee Bumbling Mate. Like I
Those two.
want an alternate art Mr. Smee Bumbling Mate, like just super pretty, like enchanted rainbowing effect on it. The honorable mention though is Beast Tragic Hero. That's the card that I really wanted to get like an enchanted treatment when it
Could
was.
it get even better than the one that we already have though? It's so pretty.
It is.
It's good. It's good.
Oh, my main one I think would be Merlin Goat. I think that would be
Okay.
my first pick. I mean, every deck I want to play, Merlin Goat is a 4-up staple, so I would immediately just go fiend mode for that. Honorary mention would be Merlin Rabbit. I think both of those would be fantastic DLC promos, and people would lose their minds for it.
Absolutely.
That's an expensive DLC promo though, there, Zen. I would argue that would
dude.
become the most expensive of all time if it was a
You
rabbit
would
or a
see
goat.
me.
Right?
You would
Like,
see me
am I
grind
wrong?
so much harder in season 2 than anyone ever has. Zach Biven has coined the phrase "he'll outwork anyone." You would never see me again if it wasn't for playing Lorcana.
I guess I have to say Sail the Azurite now, like just because of where it's from, like, and of course the similarity it has with my my nickname, right?
It couldn't
But-
have been more perfectly timed as well. Like when it came out, was like kind of like right after a season where you'd made your name with this deck,
Yeah.
and then they give just like such an obvious ad to that deck. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other one is not for my deck, but I was shocked that it was not announced for the Continental's promos, and I think that they should be doing it for next one is the Elsa Fifth Spirit.
Okay.
I think this one would be really, really cool. And it's a very beloved character,
Yeah.
and a very, very good card. So I think that would be like a slam dunk.
Final topic for the day before we do plugs and goodbyes and thank yous. You said right at the beginning you're all Disney nerds. Disney adult is seen as like a really dirty term on social media, and like I think we need to normalize that not being the case, because the Disney people that I've met have been genuinely some of the coolest, most interesting, most charismatic, most down-to-earth, talented, intellectual people I've ever met. So normalize Disney adult being a positive thing, because I absolutely am one too. So let's talk a little bit of Disney from all of you, and we'll go in reverse order to what we just went. We'll go Sailor, Zen, R&B. I want your favourite Disney film, your favourite Disney character, and your favourite Disney song. Give it to me.
Easy. Moana, how far ago?
Easy choice.
Moana. I used to, I obviously when I was a kid I was watching all the other movies and I loved them, but and then I stopped watching them for a while, and then when I went back and listened to Moana like a few years after, I was like, this is such a good movie.
It's beautiful.
This is such a good movie. Like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And I love the songs all the way through.
Yeah.
I love Maui's song as well. And I even like the ones. Yeah. I really like the Moana 2 songs as well. I've been jamming those since we went to the theater with my kid.
Nice.
And I like Chi-Hu a lot. Very much into Moana.
Oh, it's easy for me too. Favorite film, Hercules. Favorite characters, Hercules, and the song is "Go the Distance."
Oh, wow. You're all like really loyal to one brand. I'd have used this question as a chance to like talk about all the different things, but hardcore Moana, hardcore Hercules. Again, I love Moana, but Hercules is one of the ones I remember as a kid like rewatching an awful lot. That entire soundtrack is just stunning. And yeah, I Can Go the Distance, arguably one of the most famous Disney songs of all time.
No, I remember the first time I, heard that song specifically, and I mean, just through my life, it's just kind of been, man, something that just means a lot, to be honest with you. It feels like it's fit a lot of the theme of my life as I've grown and done different things. So it has a special place in my heart, but also just the artwork and theme of the entire movie is fantastic.
Mine is not going to follow the same path that they did.
That's fine.
So this, God, it's so hard for me to pick between the two. Favorite Disney film is Okay.
Come on,
okay, I
it's
got this.
Belle.
I got this. It's favorite. Okay, it's so hard.
I know, brother.
It's
I
got to
know.
be Beauty and the Beast. Okay,
Okay.
favorite
Yes.
Disney film has to be Beauty and the Beast. My
That's
favorite character's probably Robin Hood,
Nice.
and my favorite song is "I Want to Be Like You" from Jungle Book.
Aha, very nice.
Those are
choices.
my three favorite Disney films of all time, and it's like really difficult for me to like pick one over the other.
Of course, I totally understand. I'm the same. Like, if someone asks me my favourite of anything, I have to say 2 or 3 things. So I appreciate you narrowing it down for us. And kind of tragic that we don't have a I Want to Be Like You song in Lorcana yet.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
yeah.
Or
I really
We're Your
want
Friends.
color. I want Colors of the Wind also
Yeah,
in the song.
that's
I
gotta
really
be
want that
broken.
song as well.
That, like, already without like
That's gonna be
that card
broken.
has to be broken and enchanted
Oh,
and a
it's gonna be
DLC promo. Like, it can't
Yes,
not be right.
yes, I agree.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree. I agree.
Not 7-year-old, not RM. This is way before our R&B. Not
You know what?
7-year-old Ryan standing up in the middle of the theater when Pocahontas was in theaters, belting out the lyrics to "Colors of the Wind," embarrassing the crap out of my mom. That
You know
yep,
what would be
that-
cool?
That happened.
I'm gonna call it Color of the Wind as the first revealed 7 ink color.
6 in color.
7th. A
Seven.
new one.
Oh, it's the 7th ink.
Oh, like a
Yeah, the first. Imagine we get the 7th color, and the first card reveal is Colors of the Wind. It was like, how cool that would be.
Well, like a set which are splashable, and that's the first one.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
maybe.
something that's like not colorless, but like maybe like rainbow, where it
Yeah.
can just go in any deck.
Yeah.
Look at us.
I
We're
don't know.
designing the next 5 years of the game. We cooking. Gentlemen, it's been genuinely a pleasure to have you here again. I said at the beginning, it's been a long time coming, and I'm so glad we were able to make it work. Thank you for your time. I'm very appreciative that time is precious for your work, your family, your content, and of course, playtesting, one of the most important. Please, any plugs, any thank yous, any like statements at all to the community that you'd like to make, and do please plug your socials where you can be found, whether it's Metafy, Twitter, etc. Of course, I'll put them all in the description, but just let people know where they can find you. Sailor, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, you can find me on metafy.gg /@sailor with a 4. You can find me on Twitter as well at Lorcana_sailor. And on Discord also, in most of the known Discord channels, but also in our team Discord, the Maelstrom Discord, where we're just trying to have a really welcoming and competitive community.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. Same thing, @Xenulous. I'm just a nerd that occasionally engages with people and shows off deck lists. One thing I do want to say, just a shout out to you, Baker. So from the beginning of the game, and R&B and Humble and I have talked about this, we never really imagined we'd be at the point we are at this point in the game. I remember the first few months when tournaments were going on, and I was going to my first couple of 2Ks, and you were one of the first channels that I watched and knew about that was covering any Lorcana content. So you were really my first look into what the competitive space of the game was doing. And I've been fortunate enough to make it in the early days on a couple of your videos. So I always felt oddly connected. Like, if I can make Lorcana Villain proud and get good enough to be on his video, then I'll be good enough for anything. So no, honestly, you know, we've never met, we've never talked, but you know, we've had some Twitter interactions. But seriously, I love everything you do, appreciate the voice you give the community, and you're just amazing, man.
Thank you so much. That genuinely means a lot to hear that. And yeah, again, one of my goals is to like kind of hopefully be that. So thank you so much genuinely for telling me that. That does mean a lot. And thank you for all the support that you've given me. I have noticed over time, whether it's on over on Twitter or on YouTube, and I thank you very much for that. And I'm super glad we were able to make this work at last and get you on. And finally, the controversial one.
Be the controversial one.
How can people find you, and anything you'd like to say to the community, my friend?
Yeah, I'm super active in most of the Discord communities. Obviously, you know, Maelstrom, I'm constantly in there talking. I moderate for 20 Lore as well. Those are probably like 2 of the absolute best communities that you could be a part of if you're looking for, you know, that competitive aspect of Disney Lorcana, and you want to get better at the game, like that's what we're here to do. We're here to boost each other up. You can find me on Twitter. I'm really active on Twitter at R_M_BX. You can also find me. I made an Instagram. I have an Instagram now, guys. So watch out. The sky is the limit. You can find me there at R_M_bald, because someone already took RMB. So there's that. And you can also catch me on the revamp of a previous fan favorite content piece, formerly known as Lab Rats, with a brand new name and a brand new face on YouTube. Very, very soon.
Gentlemen, normally at this point, I would just cut it off and I would say, right, well, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. And I will do the outro on my own. But I feel like you're the sort of gentleman that would join me in an evil laugh to send the people home. Can I count on you? Is that something I can count on? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Hold on.
Okay, so we're gonna do the standard intro. As soon as you hear "see you soon," that's when it's coming. And that's going to be it from me and Team Maelstrom for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show support, and we'll see you soon.